Hello and welcome to another live broadcast here from the Morgan Podcasting Network. Let me adjust my mic as we do it live, as we were just joking about before we came on. It's a holiday week, so we're coming at you on Tuesday. Quite frankly, some of you maybe would be sick of your families and be willing to tune into a broadcast on Thursdays, but I'm not sure how many of our families would appreciate us saying, hey guys, we're going to go off to do a podcast right now. So we're coming at you on a Tuesday. My name is Rod Morgan. I'll be the host of the sports show that we will start here first. We call it Balls and Brew. Joining me is the executive producer of this podcast and every other podcast we do here on the network. And he's even a host of other shows we do here on the network. And he is a man that loves Thanksgiving. His name is Jimmy Jamriska. James, hello.
I thought we changed the name of the show. It's the host of the sports show we're doing. Oh, so now we're going to have to change all the marketing, all the ad reads. That's fine, Rod. No problem. Just go right ahead. I have nothing else to do. I appreciate that.
Didn't I say Balls and Brew after I said the sports
show?
Yeah,
you did. I was a little angry, though. I didn't hear that part.
Yeah, see, everybody's all feisty. It's somebody who's normally feisty and likes to argue with me just because he wakes up another day, and that's what makes for a good podcast. It's our friend, the old man, Chris King. Chris, hello.
Yeah, no, Rod, I am hot because I found out today that Adams Central is in the state championship of football. I hate Adams Central and everything they have to do with. And so I know that's a real specific regional complaint that I have. But listen, for those of you who know, Adams Central needs to lose in this upcoming championship game.
I hope our number one fan, Corey Nance, has tuned in because I know that he would be quite interested in that high school football talk. Our guy, the resident couch potato, Pete Osterman, he would love that as well. And somebody else who probably can figure out a way to gamble on said high school football game is our guy, the handicapper, Josh Williams. Josh, hello.
What's up, boys? Went 1-1 against the spread last week. Felt like should have had better luck with the Colts, actually, and felt like we got lucky with the Bears covering. So, Rod, we called it perfectly on the Colts. They were going to throw to one of their 16 tight ends, and then you said, can he catch the ball? Whoever it is. And Alec Ogletree just could not catch the ball. Call me crazy, but if he catches that ball, that whole game is different. It's just a different flow of a game.
Listen, I know that I come on this podcast and I rant and rave and I malaprop things and I misplace old phrases together, you know what I mean? And I make references to things that nobody even understands. But I have a vein to what is going on in Indianapolis. My track record with calling things that the Colts should do is speaking for itself when you listen to past episodes of this podcast. So, Williams, folks should be tuning into us. Oh, you know what? We're not going to talk about the Colts this week. We're just not, because there's nothing interesting to talk about the Colts. There's nothing interesting coming out of that Lions game. So we're not going to check in on them. But we are going to check in on one of the favorite teams of one of the members of this podcast who was just participating in an absolutely bonkers game. And I know that Mr. Williams has to have some thoughts and some stats and some weird, this hasn't happened since 1972 stuff for everything going on in that Commanders-Cowboys game. Mr. Williams, what were you thinking as that game was unfolding?
Yeah, I'm thinking rest in peace to whoever had the under in that game. It was 13-9 with 6 minutes to go in the game. 13-9. And then everything you could ask for in the final 6 minutes was just bonkers. What transpired, only 38 combined points. Like I said, if anybody out there had the under, condolences to you and your family because that was insane. Statistically speaking, didn't think it'd get any worse than the Bears special teams. Well, this Washington team said, hold my keg. Guys, this was the worst special teams performance for a football team in the history of the NFL. Like that's not like hyperbole. That's actual facts. You miss 2 extra points, you miss a field goal, and you give up not 1, but 2 kick returns for touchdowns. The second one, Chris, why isn't your guy sliding down at the 1 yard line? Good Lord. By the way, Dallas isn't innocent in this game either. They had a punt block and they missed.
We'll get to you.
Yeah, they missed 2 field goals. So the last 6 minutes of that game was absolutely drunk. I mean, Chris had to been going nuts.
Listen, Chris, here's what I want to know. We can talk about the game all we want, but what I really want to know is, are you somehow secretly mad because your Cowboys have actually sucked you back in? They are not mathematically eliminated from the playoffs right now, and Cooper Rush just led them to a victory. Are you actually mad that your Cowboys are sucking you back in, or are you going to stick to your guns?
What do you
and
mean
you're fired
sucked me
up now?
back in, Rod? I never got out. All right,
Here
I've
we
been a
go.
fan the entire year. Okay, the boys go out there to win. We don't slide in front of the end zone, Williams. We score touchdowns. All right, we don't slide in front of the end zone. I will say this though. I just got done watching the first onside kick recovery, and then turn around and watch Washington attempted. I thought for sure that was going to backfire on my boys, but nope. We flipped the script and got another touchdown. It was fantastic. Couldn't have happened to a better franchise in Washington.
All right, Chris, do you really, truly believe your Cowboys have a chance of sneaking in the back door as the 7th seed in the NFC?
Yeah, of course we do. The NFC, especially after that top tier of your essentially the NFC North for the most part. After that, it's all a crapshoot. I mean, we are a game back from San Francisco. If they have a shot at that last seed, we do.
Well, listen, Williams will probably have some thoughts on San Francisco when we get to them. Jimmy Jam, I want to go to you. The Bears again showed us a tremendous amount of fight in a game with the Vikings. Caleb Williams in an up and down season, another really, really good game out of him. What are your thoughts as this crazy Bears season is rounding to the end here?
My thoughts are welcome to the Bears bandwagon, Rod. This is what happens to all of us. This is not surprising at all. 2 times in a row. That means like you kick a field goal, it gets blocked. That would have beaten your arch rival, right? Okay, no problem. Next field goal, second arch rival in the blocked again. You would think one time they would just, I don't know, practice that. One time. Oh, then they move somebody. Oh, good, you made one. Still almost got blocked, by the way. But that's okay. That's fine. Caleb Williams is our guy. He's the quarterback. We have it. Finally, we are there. Is he perfect? No. Is he a rookie? Yes. He is there. I feel confident in him. That is great. This doesn't surprise me at all. Rod, 3 weeks ago, I was laughing and mocking you, actually, saying they're probably not going to win another game. And Rod, they're probably not going to win another game.
Well, listen, let's hope that they win a few more games for my guy, Matt Eberflus. And Williams, I want to go to you on that. Do you believe that somehow the Bears will mess this thing up and say to themselves, you know, we don't want to mess up the infrastructure for Caleb. He started looking good at the end of the year here. Like, let's keep Eberflus around. Do you think there's any chance that the Bears screw this up by actually not firing their head coach?
There's no chance, man. Eberflus has to be gone. The right answer will be staring at them from across the field on Thursday and Thanksgiving and Ben Johnson. So Eberflus, 2-11 versus the entire division. He's 5-18 in one possession games. 17 times Eberflus has played a team with a winning record. The Bears are 2-15 in those games. Are you kidding me? But actually, Rod, we have a chance this week because guess what? The game isn't on a Sunday. The Bears, Eberflus, he's lost 19 straight road games on Sundays. The game's on Thursday this week, Rod. We have a chance. We have a chance.
This is what I'm seeing. Now you're starting to follow my narrative here, right? Eberflus pulls off a victory, right? Pulls off a Thanksgiving Day victory. He's got the stage all to himself versus the Lions. They're going to be showing the Dan Campbell's Applebee's commercial. They're going to be telling the story about Dan Campbell first coming into Detroit and saying he's going to be biting kneecaps and changing things, and look at the Lions, and oh my goodness, this isn't your dad's Detroit Lions. They're the Super Bowl favorites out of the NFC, and the fighting Bears are going to thrill the nation with their T formation and beat the Lions on Thanksgiving. Let's go, Jimmy. I'm totally excited. I'm fired up. I love being on the Bears bandwagon. I'm happy to have you back on the Bears bandwagon. Chris, Williams brought up a coach that the Bears may have next year. They play on Thanksgiving. Your Cowboys always play on Thanksgiving. Will this be Mike McCarthy's last Thanksgiving Day game as Dallas Cowboys head coach?
Oh, yeah. I mean, he doesn't have a contract, so I have to assume he's not coming back,
What if the Cowboys
right?
make the playoffs like you say they're going to? Don't you think that your guy's back?
Nah, probably not. He's ran his course. We tend to do that. We can let guys go 7-8 years or whatever it may be, and then go past their usefulness for the most part. And so, yeah, no, I don't see Jones. He's going to go out there and try to get himself a Dion, try to get himself a Belichick, try to get himself some other big name coach. And when that doesn't work out, he'll get somebody that he can control.
Look out. Look out. Chris is excited for his Cowboys to make the playoffs, but yet he still sounds defeated about the Cowboys. Such is the life of a Cowboys fan these days under Jerry Jones' regime.
And shame on you for doubting the Lions, you guys. Like, this is the most
What do you mean, you
exciting
guys?
team.
I was the only one that doubted the Lions. Don't put Jimmy and Williams in that evil. They didn't do it. They didn't have anything to do with that. That was all me.
Listen, the Lions are doing something that a team hasn't done since the 71 Dolphins. 21 rushing touchdowns in a row in regular season game, 24 games in a row total. Something like we haven't seen since my heyday, all right? Going back to leather helmet days.
So then, does that mean the Lions get actually like pop champagne and like pour it on Mercury Morris, or like is it something like that? Because remember, he's a member of that Dolphins team.
That means this is a team that's not easily defeated. They control the offense. They control the ball. I don't think the Bears have a chance.
Actually, I think I just did one of my things there too. I think Mercury Morris is passed. I don't think he's around to be able to pop champagne with anybody. So my apologies to his family. Listen, let's just move on from this nonsense. All right, let's get to Williams's picks. And Williams has had a bit of a down year. We tried 4 picks one week. That didn't work. We talked Ohio State, Indiana, but we didn't make him pick that. And we only picked 2 picks that week. Jimmy wasn't here. All the energy was off. So we're trying something different this week. Williams, I'm going to turn it over to you. You explain to the people. You're actually going to debut something that you have never done here on this podcast. All these years that we've done it now, you've never done it this way. Explain to the people what they're about to hear.
Yeah, so one of these picks is the Zona at Minnesota game. I'm going to be contrarian here, and I'm going to take Zona plus 3.5 minus 105 on FanDuel. We'll get to being different here in a second. Kyler has massive splits versus zone.
Heaven forbid you answer my question.
We'll get into just a second here. Kyler has massive splits versus zone compared to man. Minnesota plays more zone than man. Kyler has also done well versus the blitz. We know that nobody loves the blitz more than Brian Flores. Zona is also third in EPA per running back run. But Rod, I said it was quick. This is the reason I'm picking this game, guys. It's never been done before. It's a little shout out to Dave Malinsky, one of the best pro bettors of all time. He's no longer with us. He found this angle mostly in NBA and MLB betting, and that was when a team goes on a long road trip and they come back. That first game back home, he found that a lot of the times they lose, they do not cover, and why is that? You got a lot of family to deal with. This little thing called family distractions, getting your routine back in order. The Vikings are coming off 3 straight road games where they've been away from their families. You guys know more than me. When you've been away for a long period of time, what do you have to do? You have to get all the family time in with the girlfriend, the wife, the kids. Now, guys, we're in the middle of Thanksgiving week. What's more of a distraction than Thanksgiving week? Minnesota is all distracted. 3 road games in a row. This is the first home game back. This is a massive distraction game for Minnesota. Give me Arizona plus 3.5. What do you guys think?
So no, did you just pick against families? Did you essentially just pick against families? Is that what I heard there? I'm not saying I'm against it, but I'm trying to just make sure that I understand that what the handicap is here.
It's a lot of distractions. It's a lot of distractions during Thanksgiving week for the guys coming back home. They haven't been home in a month.
Jimmy, listen, I'll throw it to you. I don't want to refer to your 3 lovely. No, your 3 lovely children. Your 2 lovely children. Your 2 lovely children. I was about to give you an extra children, Jim. I'm sorry about that. Your 2 lovely children as distractions. But do you buy what Williams is saying here, that your family life is going to get you to be able to not perform at your job?
I just want to, well, first of all, yes, 100%, no question.
All right.
No question, Williams. You're actually on par with that. I want to know, Williams, how do you make time for your wife and your girlfriend and your family all at Thanksgiving? That's got to be tough, bud.
It's tough. I said wife or girlfriend.
I think you said wife, girlfriend, I thought there was not an or in there. I thought it was like a comma / dash.
Well, listen, let's go to the old man of this podcast who actually tackled this very scenario back in 1972 when he was staying in Lake Tahoe out in beautiful California. Chris, why don't you tell us how that went down?
So here's what I'll say when it comes to weekly football games. you aren't on the road that entire time, all right? They're coming back to Minnesota before that Chicago game, and after that Chicago game, they're coming back to Minnesota after the Tennessee game. So they're not away from their family for 3 weeks in a row. So there is some semblance. And also remember, these are professionals. They do this every season. Families are used to this type of schedule, especially during the season. So I don't think that's enough for Arizona to still counteract my age-old saying of a West Coast team crossing the country to play on the East Coast.
Counteract. I didn't know we were putting together a scientific formula for this one. Goodness gracious. All right, I'll tell you what. I'm going to go with something that I like to do, right? I like to say who needs the game more, all right? Kyler Murray has played good football this year. The Cardinals looked like trash last week. Kyler Murray specifically. Give me the Cardinals for that reason. I don't know what Williams is talking about, families. Kate, you're lovely. You're not a distraction. Vanimal, you're lovely. You're not a distraction. I can absolutely do my job and all of my things at home. I don't know what in the world is going on at Casa de Jim Risco where he's saying that he can't do his job because he's got too many things going on at home. What are you doing down there, Jim?
When aren't we doing, Rod? That's the case.
There's
a lot going on, but that's all right. Hey, I've got Zona winning this one as well. So sorry, Vikings fan, or sorry, Cardinals fans.
Sorry, Minnesota Vikings families. That's really who we should be apologizing to after that particular handicap. Williams, I like it though. You know what? Like you said, we got to try something different, right? There was an age-old handicapper who handicapped NBA games, but you have applied his knowledge to the NFL. I like it. What did the NBA handicapper of old tell you about San Francisco versus Buffalo?
Yeah. So I'm going to go with my guy, Kyle Shanahan, Niners, +7, -110 on Caesar. This is down to 6.5 at some other books. The Bills have scored over 25 points per game in 5 straight games. And since 2009, teams have only covered 41% in their next game. And home faves of 6 or 6.5 are only 3-11 against the spread this season. Lastly, Shanahan, when he's a dog of 6 points or less, or 7 points or less, he's 19-7 against the spread in his career, covering by almost a full touchdown. The Niners didn't have Purdy or Trent Williams or Nick Bosa last week. I think there's a decent chance they get 2 or at least all 3 coming back. This is a desperate team, the Niners here. They want to get that stretch run game going. You can do that against Buffalo. Buffalo wants to get the power run game going. That's tougher to do against San Francisco. I love this spot. The whole world is doubting the Niners here. I love this spot. Give me all the hate. I love taking the desperate team with the better coach. Give me the Niners +7 all day.
Chris, you're going to need your fighting Bills to help out your fighting Cowboys here. If your fighting Bills beat the fighting Niners, then that'll help your fighting Cowboys. I threw in a lot of fightings there.
I mean, listen, I got to say 7 points is tough. Even if Purdy doesn't play, I think 7 points is tough to bet against no matter what. We know Josh Allen is Superman in Buffalo. He does everything there. It's better that he's at home in this game. It's prime time. He does perform well in prime time. Let's be honest. So I don't know if San Francisco can win this game, but if Purdy plays and Bosa plays, then they can keep it within 7 points.
I like it. Chris, more and more as we go along, just absolutely plays to the points all the time. Like when we first started out, Chris would pick teams, and now Chris just absolutely plays to the points all the time. I like it. It's a safer spot to be, right? You don't have to necessarily say one side or the other if you got the points. I dig it. Jimmy, I'm going to go to you on this. We know Josh Allen's playing well. We saw Lamar Jackson on Sunday night. No, it was Monday night. On Monday night, play very, very well. But is Saquon Barkley maybe going to resurrect the running back? Because he's been really, really good down there in Philadelphia. Did he has any chance at the MVP, or are we looking at either Josh or Lamar?
No, he's Offensive Player of the Year. There's no way. I think Josh Allen is playing a little too good right now. If Josh Allen wasn't playing as well, Barkley could get a little closer, but they're just not going to give it to him. Saquon Barkley has been by far the MVP. Think of that Eagles team without him. Think of that Eagles team with, I don't know, DeAndre Swift, perhaps. Let's just put Swift on the Eagles and put Barkley on the Bears. Where would the Eagles be right now?
Well, see, that's the thing. He's the best player who on what could be the best team. Like they only lost 2 games, so they're right there with Kansas City and Detroit. So he's got a case, in my opinion.
Oh, he's got a case. I just don't think he's going to get it.
I think you're right, Jim. I mean, I'm trying to drum up support for him here amongst our dozen listeners. You know what I mean? Make sure that they reach out to their friend circle, and maybe the word will get to the people who need to know about it there. But
I wouldn't vote for him, Rod. He plays for the Eagles, so I wouldn't vote or support him.
There you go. That's Chris
there.
being a fan. I like that. See, there's no numbers there. That's my Chris. That's my Chris.
Here, you can sneak in the back door a different way, though, for your Cowboys here, Chris. You can give Cooper Rush most improved player or comeback player of the year because he didn't start the year as your starter, but then he's going to lead you to the playoffs. So you can actually give him that award, and then it's okay. You can let an Eagle have an award. Williams, I want to go to this Tennessee-Washington game because I'm interested in what you have for me on this game, right? Tennessee had no business winning that game that they won on Sunday other than the fact that the Texans really aren't that good. And that's what bums me out completely about my Colts season this year because Texans weren't as good, which I told people at the beginning of the year we were probably crowning them a bit too quickly. Yet another thing I'm going to pat myself on my back for. I never do that on this podcast, so I had to take the chance there to tell somebody that I said something right. But they had no business winning that game. They somehow won. Washington crushing defeat after thinking they'd pulled off a miracle Hail Mary again. Williams, what's the handicap for this game?
Yeah, man, I'm taking Tennessee plus 5.5, minus 105 on FanDuel. No team has played a tougher schedule of opposing defenses over the last 6 weeks than the Titans, and now they get a reprieve here with this Washington defense. Washington's 21st in pass rush, 29th in pass coverage. So Levis might not be terrible here. And that's kind of what you want to try and get if you're backing Tennessee. Since he got benched, he hasn't been horrific. And if you back Tennessee, the first thing you want to look at is opposing pressure rate. And I think this is doable here. We said regression is coming for this Washington team. They were first in offensive efficiency the first 8 weeks. The last 4, they've dropped to 21st. And remember, a few weeks ago when we said DVOA-wise that the Titans were the second worst special teams unit in the last 25 years, now we have the Washington Commandos coming off the worst special teams performance in the history of sports. So once again, the Titans' weakness here, I'm not sure the Washington Commandos can capitalize on it. And lastly, Cliff Kingsbury. I've been telling everybody for years, every year we get to Halloween, he turns into a pumpkin. Like he's fantastic the first 2 months, and then the last 2 months he doesn't make any adjustments. And you've seen the offensive efficiency numbers go way down. I think Jaden Daniels is playing hurt. He doesn't want to run it as much as he was running it. So I think Washington is on a slide here. Going into the season, I had these two teams comparable. I actually had Titans ending up with a better record than Washington. So sometimes it just takes a while for these numbers to pan out. And I think these teams are closer than what people really think. So give me the Titans plus 5.5 here.
Can I just please say something to the football gods here? And just, can I get one more game out of Jaden Daniels? All right. I'm literally locked in a 6-6, 500 record in fantasy football. And I'm tied with 5 other guys who are in 4th place, right? We're all fighting for the playoffs. He's another 6-6 team. I need points out of Jaden Daniels one more week. All right. One more week, please. Jaden, one more week. Hold it together and get me at least like 18 to 22. That's all I'm asking for. You don't got to put up another 33, 35 point game, even though it would be nice. I just need 18 to 22, please. All right. That's my fantasy football plea. Jimmy, what do you think the Commanders are doing? Do you think they're going to bolster the ships here and make the playoffs like we all thought they were 4 weeks ago? Or you with Williams that they're sliding?
Oh, they're definitely sliding, but I think Tennessee's a good way to come back out of that. Tennessee is on a high right now. They shouldn't have won last week. They got lucky. I think Washington does come back here, and I believe you're going to get 18 to 20 out of Jaden Daniels. You'll be fine.
Nice, Jimmy. I like that. I'm not playing you this week, so I appreciate you looking out for me. We are playing each other in fantasy basketball, locked into a tight 4-point game after the first night, but we'll talk about that when we get to the fast break. Chris, your Commandos, another team that if they continue to lose helps out your Cowboys' chances. How do you see this game?
I mean, I hate doing it, Rod, but I got to root for the Titans here, right? Because screw Washington. All right.
Okay.
And I love Williams for keeping up the Commandos tagline going on for them. But here's where I'm confused with Tennessee, though. Even though I need them to win, they are first in total yards allowed on defense. They are first in passing yards allowed on defense. They are eighth in rushing yards allowed on defense. Yet they are almost dead last in points allowed per game. It is the most confusing defensive stat I have ever seen. So I assume they're probably going to put a kibosh on Jaden Daniels and not allow him to do much, but somehow Washington will still outscore him.
Kibosh. I like that. That's good. I haven't heard a good kibosh in a while. I enjoyed that. Williams, we're going to move on to a little bit of Thanksgiving fun here in a second, unless you've got any other football nuggets or maybe any futures market watch, anything else we got to get out to the people here.
I don't really. I don't.
Look out. Wow. We don't have a circle back. This is like the
No
first
circle
time
back.
in pod history.
No ref stats.
I don't. I got some futures on college basketball. This is like the college basketball week. We're out in Maui. We got tournaments in Vegas. I'm
All right,
pumped.
tell us then. Tell us the college basketball future. That's a futures market watch. Tell us the college basketball future.
Yeah, I watched this team lose the other night, and I was so impressed that I was like, I think this team can win it all. And that is the Alabama Crimson Tide. Found those guys at 17-1 on FanDuel to win it all. You want to talk about experienced backcourt with Sears? He's experienced point guard. You want to talk about a great freshman and Shiloh. So they got him. They start three guys that are 6'10" or bigger. You think maybe they're lumbering, but no, these guys are super athletic. They got the transfer from Rutgers, Omayure. They got a good coach who's analytically backed, so they shoot a lot of threes. They attack the rim. These guys are challenging themselves now. They play Purdue. They play Houston. They got another few tough games, Carolina, Notre Dame coming up. So these guys will be tested. And they went to the Final Four last year. This team is better, way better than the team that went to the Final Four last year. Look out for Alabama come March.
See, listen, folks. All right. Williams has not been as good at the football picks this year as we would like him to be, but he's strong with college basketball. So we're sneaking in a little futures for you there. Go off to your little betting app and place that. Thanksgiving will be upon us. You may even be listening to this very podcast audio-wise as you're heading off to your Thanksgiving feast, or when you're trying to get away from your family to just have a few moments alone with yourself. Thank you for listening to us if you're doing that now. Maybe you just got done eating turkey. But what we want to talk about for this Thanksgiving is a future, a better future, in my opinion, where we take the turkey away as the centerpiece from Thanksgiving, and we all came with our own nominees for a different protein for Thanksgiving. So if you're out there like me and you're like, oh, here we go. We're going to go over to Aunt Edna's house and we're going to get some dry turkey that's going to be overcooked and it's going to taste terrible. Get the turkey away from me. All I want is the stuffing and the mashed potatoes and the sides and any other kind of, maybe somebody made a ham. Please let me get a ham. If you're one of those people, this podcast is for you. I'm going to go to the old man because I'm really interested in what particular protein the old man is going to give to us, because he's probably the most offended that I'm trying to take turkey off of the Thanksgiving Day table, since he has had many more Thanksgivings than all of us combined. So, Chris, your nominee for the new superstar protein centerpiece of the futuristic better Thanksgiving is what?
Listen, I was a little bit offended that you're trying to take turkey, what should have been America's national bird, out of Thanksgiving. All right. But since I had to partake in this little venture, I'm going to go with the actual better tasting avian variety of protein, and that is the duck.
Did you say avian variety of protein? That's awesome.
The duck. That is superior in taste, flavor, and all of the above. All right. It is hard to dry out duck. You really have to work on creating the crispy outside layer of the duck skin. It is immaculate when you get it done right. It is delicious. You use the rendered duck fat to fry potatoes to go along with it. It is fantastic. There's nothing better than duck. If you're not going to have a turkey, go with duck. It's the better bird anyway.
All right, let me ask you this. Are we going full Christmas story with this duck is the duck coming out with the head, and then
There's no neck or head. No.
All right,
Neck
so we're-
involved.
All right, so we're taking this. So, and we're not going.
That was also a goose, not a duck.
Well, listen, a goose, geese, duck, whatever. Either way, we're not going far east with it, right? You're not going Peking duck on me here. You're not going duck à l'orange. You're not doing any of that on me.
No, it is a roasted duck with a citrus vinaigrette glaze.
Okay, now let me ask you this. I mean, I don't know. I've not been out to the lake in a while. I mean, are there huge ducks out there? Because I mean, that's kind of another thing that's good about the turkey is that it's rather big and it serves a lot of people. I mean, how big are these ducks? How many ducks are you
Rod,
thinking you're gonna have to serve up?
But I know you. You don't want to be at a Thanksgiving festival with 50 people there eating on the same bird. You like a more intimate setting that can feed, 8 to 10 max, and that's what a 3 to 5 pound duck's going to get you.
All right, Jimmy, do you have any questions for Chris about his suggestion here of duck?
So what, we have the stuffing that goes along with the turkey. I mean, that's really kind of what it is. We have mashed potatoes, we have gravy. What is going to be a side here, Chris? Are we stuffing duck? Can we continue the stuffing?
If you want stuffing, you can stuff that duck, Jim. Like that is up to you. Like I'm not a duck stuffer myself. If you want to, go ahead. But I already gave you the one side. That's some fried potatoes.
The slogan of the year: you can stuff that duck.
I'm not a duck stuffer myself. Oh. All right, listen, I got to tell you, duck to me seems a little gamey. It seems a little greasy. I don't know. I've not had duck that many times. I got to say, Chris, I might not be prone to vote for duck, but as a impartial judge of good arguments, you made a good argument for duck there, my friend. You made a good argument for duck there. I'm trying to vamp a little bit so that Williams and Jimmy can compose themselves. Jimmy, I believe, had a spit take on the Diet Dr. Pepper, so I think I should give him a tad bit longer. Mr. Williams, you're going to have to follow up the old man and his take of duck. What are you bringing for us?
Yeah, man, I'm just gonna go straight out smoked brisket. Like everybody loves the smoked brisket. Did I just steal yours, Jimmy? Did I just steal your protein?
No, you didn't steal it at all. I've got something completely different than brisket, and I will have a great argument for it.
I think I may have stolen Jimmy's. Yeah, I mean, I don't even have to really say anything here. Like, I'm not opposed to duck. I think it's good, but like everybody just gets pumped for brisket, man. So it's like, throw any sides you want on there, Rod.
And you know what else you just did here is you got to take a while to get that brisket made, right? Just like it takes a long while to get that duck made, right? And if you're doing the turkey, not duck, excuse me, your brisket. Chris was duck. See, Chris, your argument was so good. You had duck stuck in my mind there, all right? But if you're doing the turkey right, you're brining it like 2 days before you're cooking it, right? You got to get the mixture. You got to get it out there in the cold garage, right? You got to submerge it in water. Then you got to pull it out. So I like what you're doing here with the brisket, Williams, where you're starting that thing at like 2 a.m. the night before, right? You and your buddies getting like a 12-pack. You know what I mean? You got to get the right wood. You got to get the right meats. You got to get it all chopped up. I love it. Now, I think you might have trouble selling the brisket to the younger kids, right? You can always bust off just a little white meat piece of turkey to them and make them eat it. A little tougher to sell the brisket on them. But ultimately, who gives a crap about the kids? That's why we stick them off the corner at the kids' table and make macaroni and cheese and give them rolls, right? Like if they're anything like my son, the Vanimal, they're going to eat 14 rolls and not want to eat anything else. So I like your suggestion there, Williams. Brisket. Jimmy, I'm again attempting to vamp for you. And you know what? I'll go ahead and go here, Jim. All right. Okay. I'll let you be the closer because I have a feeling you're desperately trying to come up with a new solution.
I don't know. I have a consistent answer to this. I don't know. It hasn't been said yet. I don't know. You say it, Rod, I'm going to kill you.
Oh, no. Okay. If you're not actually looking for one, then you go ahead and go, Jim. Because I don't think mine is yours. So you go ahead and go.
I'm looking for one. Yeah, go ahead, Rod. It's okay.
Okay. All right. You were trying to make it seem like you weren't looking for one. All right.
No, I am.
Now, I just said that Williams brought in the takes a long time to cook piece, right? That was something that was going to be important to me for my suggestion, okay? The other thing that I think Chris did that I didn't point out for his argument was he also made something that looks striking there at the middle of the table, right? You have your duck come out, right? You can set it right in place of where the big turkey is, right? Williams, you're a little off. on presentation there, right? The brisket's not going to look right. We just got a big plate full of just brisket, or we got like the crock pot off to the side. That's not quite as striking visually. So I think you're losing out a little bit there. What I'm bringing to us is a special occasion delicacy. All right. And it also happens to be an English delicacy. So what I'm adding into Thanksgiving here is a little bit of an extra, a little bit of a finger back to the colony of England that we fled to be able to come to this country to start Thanksgiving in the first place. So what better way to thumb back at the English that we left them to start America, to bring this Thanksgiving tradition home, than to cook beef Wellington? I'm talking filet mignon. I'm talking puff pastry. You can do mushrooms with that. You can put a little bit of prosciutto in there, right? And that thing's going to come out golden brown. You're going to slice that, and you're going to have the pastry edge around, and you're going to have the beef middle. Oh, give me beef Wellington. It's going to take a while to cook. It's an extra thumb at the folks from Britain that we were flatting, and it's filet mignon. Who's turning down filet mignon wrapped in a puff pastry? Jimmy, I give you beef Wellington.
I feel like I have to get dressed up to go to this, which is fine. You know, you've got to go to a nice.
What's wrong with that, Jim?
Dinner.
Why did we let
That's okay.
sweatpants? Why did we let
it's
sweatpants
okay,
take
Rod.
it over?
I'm not arguing with you. I'm saying it's fine.
If you can be feisty, I can be feisty. Jim.
Okay, fine. Listen, I don't even know what my pick is going to suck, so I got to talk to you about this, okay? I think that's a good idea, but again, you got the kids there. You know, do they want to get dressed up for this? Do they want to use their knives and forks to cut through that? A puff pastry, Jackson's going to look at me and say, "What the hell is a puff pastry?"
Very true. Very true. But how many times do you think Jackson has been like, "Hey, Dad, pass me the duck"?
Valid point. I wasn't pro duck either. Chris is showing, for those listeners, he's showing a picture of something on his phone. His phone is
doesn't even show up,
phone, so there is no big screen on it.
That was my roast duck.
It's his best impersonation of Wu-Tang right there.
No kidding.
Yeah, it was.
All right, so at this point, we have 3 nominations for the Morgan You Know universe. The dozens of you out there, right? If you're with us live, tell us who your vote for is if you've heard a vote, or if you're waiting for Jimmy's final suggestion.
Put Jimmy at 4.
Jimmy's going to be at 4, he thinks. Jimmy, there we go. Listen, once again, Jimmy, you put more pressure on yourself now than even if you would have been able to say brisket, right? Because before you'd have been able to have brisket before Williams, and it just would have been a forgotten moment. Now,
fine. Now it's good.
Everybody's waiting for you, right? They want a viral moment out of you here, Jim. They're waiting for this answer. What did you come up with?
The best alternative to Thanksgiving dinner. Think about Thanksgiving dinner. We have all of the pressure to cook something so perfectly. It can't be too dry, can't be too juicy, because then you get sick, right? You got to be careful with that. Let's bring all the family together, have a nice time. We're doing what Americans do best. We're doing some ground beef. We're doing taco day. It is tacos for Thanksgiving moving forward. Why? It fits every single thing you want it to fit into. You got a big family? Just put more beef in. Cook it up. It takes 10 seconds. No problem. Okay? You got that going on. You got kids there? Who doesn't love a taco bar? Taco bars are fantastic. You can have everything you want. You don't like sour cream? Don't need to put it on. You like guacamole? Put 2 scoops. That's fine. Also, guys, we're not thinking third dimensionally here. We have people bringing stuff. I don't know how to make a pumpkin pie stuffing. How many different types of stuffing or deviled eggs do we need? No. You can bring whatever you want. Do we have 6 different types of dip? Who doesn't love nacho dip? Let's go. We are doing ground beef. We are doing tacos. Get rid of turkey. Get rid of brisket. Get rid of duck. It's taco night, baby.
Okay, but see, Jimmy, you argued earlier for how is something matching up with traditional Thanksgiving sides, and you literally just threw out the entire menu. Like you literally just threw out the entire menu.
I was asking
Grandma,
Chris questions
get your
about
damn
what
candied yams out of here.
Let's
and
go.
I'll thank you to take those
Put it on a
rolls
taco.
and stick them right back in your Buick Regal. We're not eating those this year, Grandma. You've been overcooking them for years, and we're not doing it. Green beans, I scoff at green beans. I want refried beans.
You're damn right. There will be beans, and they will not be green. They're going to be black, baby.
Ooh, black beans. Okay, right. You still got rice coming. All right. I personally, Jimmy, you did say that you would be 4, and I personally would rank your particular choice for Thanksgiving at 4. But
I think it's
listen,
number 1 now.
I do like your idea of the taco bar, right? Where we just have the beef simmering and people can just pick at it as they need, right? I went the other way and said, let's all get dressed up in our Sunday best and sit down at the table and carve the Wellington. You said, screw that. We're just going to be watching football, talking to one another, and probably drinking more bourbon than we should. Let's have tacos going in the corner that we can eat. So, Williams, I'll come to you first. Are you changing to jump on board of one of our suggestions, or will you continue to champion beef brisket as your new Thanksgiving tradition?
No, I'm sticking with brisket, man. Like the Jimmy's decision sounded like a bunch of Minnesota Vikings distractions there. That's what I got from that. So I wouldn't be surprised if the Vikings did the old taco bar with the 27 kids running around. And yeah, give me the smoked brisket. I bet you Zona's doing smoked brisket.
Zona's doing smoked brisket. Listen, that's the kind of analysis people come here for. Chris, I have a feeling you're probably sticking with duck, but I'm going to go to you anyway and see if you thought anybody made a decent argument.
Yeah, I mean, listen, you guys all made pretty decent arguments, but here's the thing, all right? I can go into any barbecue joint in America, in any city, and get brisket, all right? There's nothing special about that. Every place has it. I can go to the cheapest of cheap fast food places and get tacos if I wanted to, all right?
How dare you?
Really, the only people that have suggested something that's rare and only for special occasions is Rod and I. Rod, unfortunately, picked something that a snobby British guy made famous for Americans, and some people might not like that. Me, personally, I don't like ground mustard and mushrooms in my meat and stuff like that, so, beef Wellington's not up my alley at all. So really the only thing for me is still duck. I've already made it my Christmas dinner of choice, and now I think I have convinced myself it's going to be my Thanksgiving dinner of choice as well.
See, wait a minute. If it's already a Christmas dinner of choice, now you're making it the other. This is bogus.
Listen, here's another thing. We're having a Thanksgiving. We're having a holiday dinner for our work, right? And we have 3 different proteins that are going to be there. There is going to be a deep fried turkey. There's also going to be a ham, which I'm surprised none of you actually mentioned ham as a protein. And then we're going to have sloppy joes. Again, something that no one brought up. But those are the 3 proteins we're going to have. I still would pick duck over all of them.
That's right, Grandma. Put on your church best and come over to the house and get yourself a sloppy Joe.
It's funny you said church because the sloppy Joe recipe I got came from a church.
Of course it did. Listen, the first time I ever had a sloppy Joe was in the basement of a church, right? Like they just, here you go, have a sloppy Joe. All they got to do is get the buns out of the cabinet that have been there for 3 weeks. And then Helen brings over the sloppy Joe mix and they put it on the crock pot and heat it up. And then while the kids are up on stage doing the best Christmas pageant ever, and then they got something to eat, right? We've all been there. We know how it goes. You and yours have a happy Thanksgiving. Mr. Williams, you have a happy Thanksgiving. Thank you so much. Do you have something else for us here?
If Jimmy doesn't name this episode Stuff That Duck, I'm going to be disappointed.
Jimmy, I'm coming to you for this, actually, because you said yourself that yours was 4th. All right. So I think you can be the tiebreaker here. Chris has made a valiant case that while beef brisket is lovely and all of us love it, it should be either him or I for the championship belt here, Jimmy. What do you think?
Well, I would go with brisket. I'm not going to lie.
This is ridiculous.
I would also then go with beef Wellington, Chris. I love you to death, but I'm good on duck. I'm sorry.
Duck loses.
You wouldn't stuff that duck, Jimmy.
Listen, we all saw the kind of respect Daffy Duck got in the Looney Tunes, and he lost out again when it came to becoming a new Thanksgiving protein. Williams, thank you so much, my friend. We will talk to you next week. Jimmy, do you think maybe we could run the fast break and talk about the NBA a little bit?
I think we can. Welcome to the Fast Break, the fastest 15 minutes in the NBA. I'm Jimmy. Rod is here. Chris is here. We've got a lot to talk about, including I got to see my Pelicans get defeated by my Pacers live in Indianapolis, where the Pacers and Tyrese Halliburton, gentlemen, has not been doing very well lately. Decided to hit 9 3-pointers and say, screw you people, and screw Rod in our fantasy league. The Pacers are back, baby. Your thoughts on the Pacers, Chris King?
Well, I mean, it seems like Halliburton finally found the joy, right? He had what looked to me like a different attitude on the court that game, right, than what he's had in the past. His body language was better. He was smiling a lot more. I think he was having fun and actually enjoying the game.
Yep. Yep.
right? So I think
Yep.
that's a good sign for Pacer fans.
Gotcha. Rod.
Yeah, I was getting ready, honestly, before that game happened. I was getting ready to needle some of the Pacer fans in our group thread that we all love so much, the 12 to 13 of us there. I was about ready to needle and be like, hey Pacers fans, where's Tyrese Halliburton at? Has he understood that the season started, or is he still in Vegas at 4 o'clock in the morning wishing 50 Cent congratulations on his residency with 3 white chicks behind him? Is that what he's doing, or has he been ready for the season? So I guess he's finally back from his hamstring injury that everybody told us that we were supposed to worry about that happened at last year's NBA Cup. I guess there's this phantom back injury that Caitlin Cooper has been tracking, who you should follow Caitlin Cooper's work, by the way, if you want to know about what's going on with the Pacers. I think that is her name, isn't it, Jimmy? Isn't that it's not Caitlin Clark, but I think her name is Caitlin Cooper.
I thought you messed up. I thought you were talking about Caitlin Clark.
No, I'm pretty sure that's her actual name. She's one of those people that's got the Pacer beat down. Somebody should check me on that. But anyway, I was happy to see that out of the Pacers. I still worry about their defense, and I still worry about the fact that Pascal Siakam might slow their offense.
Don't Twitter Caitlin Cooper. It's not the same one.
It's not? All right. There.
I don't think so, Rod.
There's some...
yeah, but
That's what I'm doing.
But anyway, so a couple things the Pacers were out 4 or 5 guys. So they had to bring up a couple people from the G League. Moses Brown. If there's anything saying the people should stay in school to develop themselves, it's Moses Brown. Moses Brown looked like he was 7'2" and had never walked or done anything at all. His body language, he was just out there with the deer in headlights. Scored 6 points, all on 2 dunks and a layup. Did his best on defense, but it's one of those where you got to be in developmental a little bit longer. So Moses Brown might be someone in 3 or 4 years that is going to be a decent NBA player, just not ready yet. Same with Enrique Freeman. He was kind of all over the place as well. But it's kind of interesting to see these guys come up out of nowhere from the G League. Chris.
Just for clarifications, it is Caitlin Cooper. Rod, you can find her at C2_Cooper on X. She's the creator of Basketball She Wrote, a blog about her love of the Pacers.
Awesome. Yeah, there's a couple different Caitlin Coopers. That's the real one we want to talk about.
See, there's a reason that I co-host an NBA podcast. All right. I'm a fan. I have the NBA League Pass app. I'm on Twitter. I know these things.
Yes, there is a reason I am the host of the NBA Fast Break, and that reason will be and always is because I'm the reigning, defending world champion of the NBA Wins League. 96 wins for Jim throughout the season so far, 88 for Rod, and 75 for Chris. Man, I'm good. It's fantastic. I love it. Chris King, 75 wins.
The season's young. A lot of things can happen.
But
we played.
We've
not even played a fourth of the season yet. We still got a lot of time to go.
Chris, the Clippers have the most wins of any team that you have. How is that?
I don't think that's going to stay like that forever. But if it is, then hey, I guess they overperformed, and they'll be the only team that did.
Rod, if I were to tell you that the Clippers of Los Angeles, without Kawhi Leonard, without Paul George, have 11 wins and are currently sitting at 6th in the West right now, what would you have said before the season? 11 wins, by the way, would be 4th in the East.
Before the season, I would have said that the Clippers are going to have a bad first year in the Intuit Dome, and all anybody will be talking about are the toilets. People are talking plenty about the toilets and how great the Intuit Dome is, but I think what the Clippers are an illustration of here, Jim, is something that we talk about quite often. Depth, right? The Clippers at this point have a lot of guys. Nobody really that would knock your socks off as a top 15 NBA superstar, right? Kawhi's not even playing. James Harden is certainly a step slower. Norm Powell is probably better served as a 6th man than he is as your team's number 2 option. But what the Clippers are doing is playing defense, right? They're moving the ball a little bit, right? They're not trying to play through just 2 stars, your turn, my turn, right? Like the whole Kawhi, Paul George saga that they went through for 3 years is just kind of over and done with, right? Say what you will about James Harden, but he's going to suit up every night, right? Ivica Zubac is going to suit up every night, right? Derrick Jones Jr. is going to play. So the Clippers are kind of just, they have good coaching, right? Ty Lue and Jeff Van Gundy are the two main coaches of that team. We think those guys are good NBA brains. So if you put together 7 to 8 to 9 guys who all want to play, they're probably going to win some regular season games. And that's what the Clippers are doing right now.
Chris, the Zionless and Ingramless Pelicans have 4 wins. That is your least amount of wins. I think that the only thing that you have to going for you right now in the NBA Wins League is your lowest win total is still higher than our lowest win total. So congratulations on this. But there's only one team that has more wins than the team we're going to talk about next, and that is the reigning and defending NBA champion Boston Celtics, who, Rod, got a nice little surprise last night.
We sure did. The formerly called by Michael Rappaport, the Latvian gangbanger, the unicorn himself, Kristaps Porzingis, was back in the building. He pulled the WWE entrance once again. They put the camera on him coming from backstage. The Garden crowd went crazy as he came out. He played 23 minutes. He got up a ton of shots. He blocked a few shots. He looked good out there. I continue to say that the Boston Celtics are an absolute wagon that are just going to run through the NBA this year if they want to, right? If they want to. And I see no reason why that couldn't be. They absolutely handled the Cavs. If you want to tell me that the Cavs came back on them in the third quarter, I would respond to you that Kristaps did not play in that game. And the Cavs came back on Nemanjas Keita, who probably will not be playing in the playoff rotation the time that it comes around for the Celtics and the Cavaliers to play again in games that matter. So I don't see any reason why the Celtics aren't going to have an awful lot to say about a repeat. I picked them for a repeat. I'm still sticking with that. I, of course, don't want to guarantee it because there seems to be a few other teams out there that are pretty good, but the Celtics are definitely going to have something to say about it. The road to getting there is going to come through Boston, and you're probably going to have to beat Boston to win it if you're a team from the West.
Jimmy, I gotta ask you a question here. I really didn't think I was going to have to ask this until January or sometime, but has Rod already become an insufferable Boston fan?
Wow. Well, here's the thing. Like, he's right. I think that's the. To be
Listen, I know they're good.
means-
They were good
Yeah.
last year. They say the top of my hierarchy, but do we really need to wax poetic this much about them every week?
I think, well, this week we do because they got Porzingis back and it showed you what happens. They
They don't need Porzingis though.
No.
They can win the title without him. So to me, and they're probably going to have to do it again. They're probably going to have to do it again. We can't guarantee he's going to stay healthy this entire season either, right?
So I think Rod saying they don't need Porzingis to win the championship is insufferable. You saying that is just kind of a little sour grapes there, I think. You're still mad about those 90s and 2000s Pacers Celtics series for sure. I can tell. That's fine, though. The Cleveland Cavaliers have 17 wins. They are the number 1 seed in the entire NBA. They are doing fantastic. We love that. I do want to talk about something, though, that happened with another one of Rod's teams, the 7-win Atlanta Hawks. We have a $100,000 fine for the Atlanta Hawks for not playing Trae Young in the NBA Cup. Chris, $100,000 fine for not playing a player you said has a little tendonitis in that Achilles. Thoughts on that?
Okay, so I am for this, all right? I don't like guys sitting out, all right? I want players to play. I want them to try and win. I don't like to see tanking. I don't like to see players taking rest days, all right? I don't like it, don't believe in it, all right? That being said, I think the NBA has an issue right here, all right? They are fining players and coaches all the time, but nobody else in the NBA is having any repercussions for doing something wrong or causing issues, a la some refs lately, all right? We've seen this week specifically 2 times where a player or a coach has been fined for what they've done or said about refereeing in certain games. And these were blatant mistakes by the referees, and we don't see any kind of repercussions for them. I don't see this as a balance right now. So, yes, I'm for that fine, but I don't like the NBA only fining one side of their product.
Okay. That went down a different avenue than I wanted to go. That's okay. Rob, let's just take us out of state here. What do you got? You want to talk about, I don't know, birds or something?
I will talk about birds. I'll talk about the Atlanta Hawks, the team that you asked the question about, Jimmy, and Trae Young specifically. And what I will say is the NBA never should fine the Hawks for not playing Trae Young because we as NBA fans are better off for Trae Young not playing. The Atlanta Hawks are better off for Trae Young not playing. The Hawks are already paying Trae Young enough money. Don't cost them any more money for not playing Trae Young. When the Hawks get him out of the lineup and move the ball around and actually share it, and have big, rangy defenders on the court, they are scary. Chris, in our pre-show fist fight, you like to throw out that the Celtics lost to the Hawks. Do you know who didn't play in the game that the Hawks beat the Celtics?
Yeah, that's why he got fined for. We already know that. All right, that's what we're talking about. But like you also say, like the Hawks need to move the ball around more. Like Trae Young leads the league in assists, Rod. I mean, that's moving the ball around.
Those are that's just stats saying what you wanted to say. Trae Young does not move the ball. Trae Young is the epitome of let me dribble it around for 22 seconds and throw you a pass now because I know it's going to guarantee get me an assist. That's Trae Young. That's not really moving the ball.
Yeah, I was going more for how can the NBA tell a team to play a player that, an Achilles, last time I checked, it could be a really bad injury if that gets hurt. So what happens if the Hawks play him and he gets hurt? Any repercussions for that, NBA? Just asking questions there. Where should we go next? Let's go to that music, that beautiful music. It is called the Rod Damnation of the Week.
All right. My Rod Damnation of the week goes out to a cat up there in Minnesota. He is a man that has a Skechers shoe contract. He is a man that plays a ugly, ugly, ugly brand of basketball. He is a man that is loathed by any fan base that gets him on their team. Ask New York Knicks how happy they were to get Julius Randle out of town. Ask New Orleans Pelicans fans how happy they were to get Julius Randle out of town. Ask Los Angeles Lakers fans how happy they were to get Julius Randle out of town. And the Minnesota Timberwolves, who have a guy on their team who is a bit mercurial, who's been a bit of an issue with some guys, let's just say, in Rudy Gobert. But you have a long-term vested interest in Rudy Gobert. You traded a boatload of draft picks to get him onto your team. You just signed him to another contract at the beginning of this year. And what do? You bring in Julius Randle to your team. You don't give Julius Randle a new contract, a guy who notoriously the ball sticks to anyway, in a year where he needs to get numbers to try to get a new contract. And we have a situation where Rudy Gobert, who I'll admit, not Shaquille O'Neal in the paint, but has a smaller man sealed behind him right underneath the basket. The man is 7'2". I'm fairly certain Rudy would have been able to get that one in. Julius Randle looks him off, only to turn the ball over and have it go the other way. My Rod Damnation goes out to a man who I cannot stand to see play basketball. Julius Randle gets Rod Damnation for being exactly who he's always been, a man who's out for himself and no one else.
So, Chris, do you hate anyone just for being who they are, just like Rod does with Julius Randle?
Hate's a strong word. I really feel like Rod is trying to get back at me for railing against his Boston fandom because he knows I am a Julius Randle fan in the NBA. I'll be honest, that's mainly fantasy related fandom. That being said, I don't know if Knicks fans really wanted to get rid of Julius Randle. You have to admit that he was a big reason why they started having success when Tibbs took over. He ran that dude to death, played him way more minutes before they built that team that they have now. It was Randle that kept that ship afloat. I think Knicks fans particularly do have a fondness for Julius Randle. I also don't look at Rudy Gobert as an offensive threat. Defensive, yes. So you're right in saying that he's definitely not Shaq. But I'm not going to hang on a dude just because he had one turnover at one bad particular part of the game. That's happened many times before. So I get it. Rod doesn't like him. He hasn't liked him in a while. And part of that's because he played at Kentucky, which does put a ding in his book for me as well. But he did help me really build my fantasy squad because I got him dirt cheap, and he really has solidified that squad for a long time. So I can't throw that much hate at him.
You gotta love fantasy, Chris. The Timberwolves are 8-8, and I think this is a bigger issue for the Timberwolves. It might have been one play, but it's the culmination of a lot where you have somebody who all they do is they have to have the ball in their hands, and it's an easy play to get it down low, no matter who it is. If I was down there, you should throw it to me. I'm gonna miss, but you still throw it to me. Okay, that's why Ant Edwards got in his face afterwards. That's even why Julius Randle, in the press conference a couple days later, said, "Yeah, I needed to throw him the effing ball. Yeah, that's my fault." So I think this is something to continuously watch with this Timberwolves team, which right now at 8-8, obviously they'd be second in the East, but they're not in the East; they're in the West right now. So they need to
Would
watch.
be second East. You stop
It'd
it.
be like fourth. I know. But anyway, speaking of 1, 2, 3, and 4, let's go to the Kings. Hardwood hierarchy. All right, Chris,
Rod's
what do we got?
Rod's gonna hate me for this, but he already knows it's coming. I got to put Cleveland still at the top. I know they lost to Boston, and Rod's gonna make that a deal, but that's the only game they've lost. That being said, they're playing some of the best defense in the league right now. You know how I love defense. That's why another team's making it on this list tonight. So I'm keeping Cavaliers at 1. Boston is still the queen. All right. You're still the queen. All right. You beat Cleveland again, or you go on another winning streak, you'll be there. All right.
What's the longest winning streak currently in the NBA right now, Chris?
Probably Boston,
That's correct.
because you brought it up. I know how you how your mind works.
Heaven
All right.
forbid I bring up the point about the team you're talking about right now. What kind of terrible podcaster am I?
I know, right? But for my Prince, I'm going to give it to another team that's 9-1 over the last 10 games. All right, it's another team that is playing phenomenal defense, and I did not expect this team to be this successful this early, and that's the Orlando Magic.
Especially when Paolo went down. Yeah, I love that they're getting shouted out here, man. That's your guy.
Yeah,
Franz,
no.
Chris. You love Germans, and he's really going crazy down
Listen, they are, to me, the surprise of the NBA this season. All right, I didn't expect this soon out of Orlando. It's been a city of ineptitude for a while now down there, but like
Wow,
you,
the whole city.
but it's phenomenal what they're able to do. All right, they are playing great team defense. I love that. It's the East. You need that to get through the playoffs. So I think they can become a dangerous team.
Listen, it was a down year for the Orlando Chamber of Commerce, and we all know it. All right, the public library had a record year in fines. All right, we know that it was terrible down there in Orlando, and I applaud you, Chris,
Potholes.
for calling out
Yeah.
the entire city.
Right. All right. And then let's go to the Jester. All right. And this needs to be pointed out because this team is supposed to be good. They have an MVP caliber player on this team, a player that's actually won multiple MVPs, and they look like absolute trash the other night. That's the Denver Nuggets.
Wow, I like
Well-
it. Listen, I like it.
Yeah.
Am I wrong?
Spice. It's spice.
Am I wrong?
I'd say yes, you're wrong. The New Orleans Pelicans are probably like, you know how we always
No.
have to retire one team that they can't be the Jester anymore?
Yeah, I'm not ready to retire somebody yet, though, but I have to call out ineptitude when I see it. And this is a
Did you
team
see-
that's a.
Did you see the starting lineup that the Pelicans put out a couple of nights ago?
All right, but this is
Alfred
this is
Payton's
worse
back in the
when
NBA.
when you have a squad that's trying to win a championship again. All right,
Chris, we talk
And-
about ownership all the time, and we bashed the Denver ownership for how cheap they've been over the last 2 years. I think Jimmy and I kind of foretold that this might be a bit of a down year for the Nuggets, didn't we, Jim?
Yeah, because they didn't have a bench. I mean, you can only do so much, and then Murray isn't what he needs to be. And no Wu-Tang, I do not want Jamal Murray for any of my players. Thank you very
Right?
much.
He's been offering him up
Um,
all year long.
Yeah, he has. But yeah, I'm
Jimmy,
sorry.
do you agree with me that like it seems a little harsh to put the Nuggets at the Jester?
I mean, I think right now, did people really think the Nuggets were going to be as good? That's the only thing, Chris. I think a lot of people thought the Nuggets were going to take a step or two back.
okay,
Um,
I didn't.
but you're
so
okay. Okay,
It is
there
his
you go.
hierarchy. You're right. No, he's right.
It
He's
is.
right.
yeah,
It
I
is
didn't expect it
lately-
to be that.
I
and
get
they-
the lately rules sometimes, Chris. That's my bad.
Yeah, and they gave up 145 points. All
That's
right, that's a
ugly.
lot. That's ugly.
And Mike Malone, the way we had Jimmy give us a great audio drop earlier, Mike Malone gave us a good one. No, you don't flush it. We don't flush anything. We don't flush around here. You know what I mean? Like it's just a great audio drop from him after that. He was mad.
Well, that is going to do it for this week's NBA Fast Break Balls and Brew on the Morgan You Know Podcasting Network.
NBA, listen, NBA, come here real quick before we go start talking wrestling, all right, and where they come up with fake rules all the time. You don't have to be the WWE. Stop trying so hard with the All-Star game. You don't have to have 4 separate teams and one of the teams be the rookies and the sophomores. Just make the guys play the game. Put it in the collective bargaining agreement. Tell them that they have to play just as hard in that game as they play any other game. Give them more money. Something. It needs to be a regular game, East versus West. It's not the playground.
Goodbye, Internet.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Yeah We Know podcast, part of the Morgan You Know Podcasting Network. You're in the ring with Jimmy, Chris, and Rod, and the wise man returns. Rod, Paul Heyman is back. He came back in a huge way. He came back kind of how we thought he was going to come back when Roman Reigns went to speak, and then he comes over the speakers. Rod, the wise man returns.
The wise man returns from, I don't know if it was Turks and Caicos. I don't know if it was Jamaica. I don't know if it was Hawaii. I don't know if it was Majorca, right? I don't know where our guy was at, but he was awfully red. Looked like he had been on a beach for a little while. He looked good. He looked as svelte as a Paul Heyman is going to look, right? He looked rested. He looked ready to go. And he is launching a story that, Jimmy, I must admit, I'm in. As much as I'm against my guy Phil, I'm in because there are so many directions this can go. We'll talk about all of them as we get ever closer to WrestleMania, but I heel Heyman and heel Phil. That's what I see coming here, Jimmy.
Chris King, I have a feeling you're going to give me an old man take. Give me an old man take on that.
Yeah, it doesn't move the needle. Listen, listen. I enjoyed Heyman coming back. I think he does a great job. Like, right, he does. But like, to me, from what you guys have told me, there's already history where Heyman was CM Punk's guy. Like that, they were together. Then he left Punk to go with Brock, and then left Brock to go with Roman. And so now you have Heyman with Punk and Roman together again. But like, I didn't have any of that, right? I just remember Heyman being the wise man to Roman. So I don't see the strife or anything else like that. I see the OTC essentially get another person on his squad that I don't really care about. So now I have 2 5-group teams full of people that I'm not interested in. I know that I gotta be the minority here because the WWE's selling it, but it doesn't move my needle.
So, Chris, the long-term storytelling here has been very, very solid with Triple H. And long-term, I mean, in the past, 6 to 8 months of storytelling. Because remember when, even the last year, when CM Punk came back, he said, Roman Reigns, remember, Paul Heyman was my wise man before he was your wise man. And there's so many little things, including, and I couldn't put my finger on it, why Heyman came out in the attire he came out in. And there was something weird. He had the black blazer, the red T-shirt, and the red little handkerchief thingy, right? And then I looked on X today, if you will. That's the exact same outfit that Solo Sikoa was wearing when Heyman was with Sikoa. Go back and look. Exactly the same. Red undershirt, blazer, red pocket square. Is that foreshadowing Heyman turning on Reigns and going with the new bloodline, Rod?
See, I foretell Heyman turning on Reigns, yes, because I think that further solidifies Roman as a big-time babyface, which is where I think we're ultimately still trying to steer him back to. But I thought it was going to be more to then go with Punk. So that's interesting that he may be actually ultimately screwing Roman to go back with Solo. And then the whole, looking scared of Solo and getting beat down by Solo was the red herring to throw us all off the scent. That's interesting, Jimmy. I hadn't thought about it from that angle yet.
Okay,
Chris,
so
does that make you more interested at all or no?
Well, okay, so I am the new guy here, right? I'm coming from a view of no past experience, let's say, even though I did watch back in the day, we know that. But lately, so like I don't have that recent, the little things between everybody. It's hard for me to get excited when there is nobody in that ring that I would consider a babyface, except for maybe Sami Zayn, and that's weird. But like we saw, like when I came into wrestling, I didn't do nothing but watch for 2 years the Bloodline cheat, manipulate, and bamboozle their way through every win that they got. And so I don't root for them. I don't want to see them succeed. And I definitely am not going to root for I can't believe it's not the Bloodline reboot that they got going with Solo. So like it doesn't even move the needle for me because there's no one to root for. I want to see both these groups fail.
Well, Chris, that there's no one to root for. So CM Punk is a bad guy. Oh yeah, he's got to be a bad guy, Rod, because of course Drew McIntyre for the past 6 months has been the face. That's right. He's right.
Yeah, that's definitely right. I look at it this way that Chris obviously doesn't have his yeet colored glasses on here when he says that there's no baby face in that ring that anybody cares about. Obviously, Chris hasn't seen any Raw or PLE entrances over the past 2.5 months where that place just goes absolutely crazy for Jey Uso coming down to the ring. So
doesn't make him a good guy just because people cheer.
Him a good guy. It absolutely makes him a good guy.
Really? So just getting
cheer him.
That's why. That's what makes somebody a good guy. Yes. You guys think really hard about all areas of life, and you think large groups of people cheering for a certain individual automatically makes them a good guy. I think you are mistaken.
Of course, Chris, I don't know where you're going with this. Of course, anytime a stadium full of people cheers for one individual and maybe does some yes, definitely a good guy. Don't know what you're talking about, Rod.
Yeah, Chris, that's the rules in the WWE. If the crowd cheers for you and wants you to win, you're over. If you're over with the crowd, you're either over as a bad guy or a babyface, right? And to be over as a bad guy, you get booed. You don't get cheered. Your guy, Dom Mysterio, Chris, he's over, but he's over getting booed. Nobody cheers the dude, all right? Now, there's also a weird nether region where you're supposed to be a bad guy, but you can't be a bad guy because you're over with the crowd. That's where Gunther's at right now, right? They want Gunther desperately to be a bad guy, but we all love Gunther. So his music hits and he gets cheered, even though he's supposed to be a bad guy. But Chris, if the crowd cheers for you and wants you to win, you are a good guy. That's how the WWE works.
Nope, I don't buy it.
Okay, so Chris does not think if babyface gets cheered. That's fine with me. Let's talk about another babyface who's out now for about 3 months. Jade Cargill, starting to go up a little bit and gets just stopped. She's going to be out 3 to 6 months, or at least 3 months actually is what they said. We need a new teammate for our Survivor Series matchup coming up this week. We do have that. It has been recorded already. Spoiler alert, it's going to be Bayley, folks. Bayley's going to take Jade Cargill's place. Rod, I know you love Bayley and everything she's done.
See, now I want to say here to Bayley's family members, if they may be listening, that I have nothing personally against Bayley. She seems like a wonderful gal. She has some great juggling talents that come out on X every once in a while. She is a great wrestler, but I don't understand what a Bayley is. I don't understand what a Bayley haircut we're doing. I don't understand what Bayley outfit we're doing. I don't understand what the role model music. And then I don't get much of what's happening with Bayley at all right now. It's boring to me. Chris just railed against the whole Bloodline storyline being boring to him. I find Bayley completely boring. I so wish that this would be a spot for Bayley or Charlotte to come back and not just Bayley, but whatever. We'll get Bayley. She's a good wrestler. She'll do.
You mean Becky, right? I think you said Bayley twice.
Oh,
Becky.
I meant Becky.
Yeah, I think Bayley is still continuing to transform into what she will be, and it's that awkward stage right now where we just got to kind of figure out what's going on there. We only have 3 matches right now for Survivor Series. 2 War Games matches, which the War Games matches alone are going to be 45 to 65 minutes. So just in math, that's how long they're going to be. And then we have Damian Priest versus. Oh no, we actually have a 3-way Intercontinental match we got to talk about. We got a lot of stuff to talk about. First of all, Rod, you're right. We do have an Intercontinental Championship for the women's matchup. How do you feel about that, Chris King? Do you care? Or do you not care?
No, I like it. We've talked here that we thought they needed some lower, women's belts, like lower tier belts. And I think this is the best way to do it.
Mid card.
Yeah, mid card. Thank you. And I think this is the perfect way to do it. You have a women's Intercontinental and a women's U.S. champion. Like, that's perfect. That's the best way to do it. I love the tournament format. Let's bring it on. I love every aspect of this. And this, I think, pushes the women's division even further.
Rod, if I were to tell you there are 19 total women on Raw and 12 total women on SmackDown, that means there are 2 belts for 19 women, 2 belts for 12 women. That plus you have to subtract the tag team championship in there because they've got a fight for that. While great, do we need to bring up some more women right now?
Yeah, we probably could bring up some more, or we could balance out the roster, right? Like a couple people could go over and start, messing around with some other people on SmackDown to diversify that roster a little bit. So, but the problem is, Jim, like, I don't know that we have anybody that absolutely has to come up down from the NXT roster on the female side, right? We have a couple people who could probably round into shape after a little while, but we have nobody who's going to come up like an absolute rocket ship right now. So, no, we need Charlotte. We need Becky. All right. That's what we need. Clearly, Charlotte is just not cleared injury wise, right? Like, there's a chance Becky maybe doesn't want to do this anymore, but clearly Charlotte wants to do this. It's the only thing she does know. It's her family lineage, all of the above. But Becky, I guess, just isn't for sure if she wants to come back and do it right now. So that's great. But man, we need something else. But I also want to say that if Chelsea Green is not the United States champion on SmackDown, then we're doing this wrong.
I agree completely. We do have 4 matches to talk about. Damian Priest versus Gunther for the World Heavyweight Championship. Gunther's going to win this. Is this interesting at all to you, Chris? I'm going to start clapping right now. Is this
Yeah, no, I'm excited for this match. I think it's going to be a good match. Yeah. Okay. No, because I enjoy what Damian Priest does in the ring, and I really enjoy what Gunther does in the ring, right? So I think it's going to be an exciting match. I think Gunther's going to win. I really do. I think they are pushing him to really have kind of a stranglehold on a belt when he does have it. That being said, I think he's going to continue to hold it for a little while.
All right, Chris King goes with Gunther. Rod, thoughts on Priest Gunther?
I'm definitely going with Gunther, but my thoughts on Priest Gunther are, it sounded like the crowd was a little muted when Damian kind of came out for Gunther in the ring there. And I feel bad for our guy, Jim, because Chris is absolutely right. His presentation in the ring is great. He is a pretty good talker, but he doesn't get completely over. And so I worry about our guy now a little more on his own, right? Like, he's still wearing the Terror Twins shirt, but we haven't seen him with Rhea for a while. His biggest pops always come when it's him and Rhea. So I worry about our guy here, Jim. He's going to lose to Gunther again. The crowd's already seeming like they're kind of over him. And where does he go from here? So it's rough stuff for our guy, Damian Priest here.
That's my worry, is where does he go next after this? Because he's already done the mid card. He's already done the tag team. He's already done the world championship now. So where does he go, and how do we reinvent that a little bit, get him away from Judgment Day? Braun Breaker, Ludwig Kaiser, and Sheamus in a triple threat match for the Intercontinental Championship, meaning that Ludwig Kaiser is going to get pinned by Braun Breaker. So then Braun Breaker and Sheamus can have another battle. That is how I think this is going to go. I think this will be the match of the night by far. Chris King, what do you got?
Give me Sheamus. I want Sheamus to win. I want to see him have a belt again. I love what this guy does in the ring. I love everything that Sheamus does. And I think this is what Damian Priest does next. I think he does a deal with Sheamus. I think they go back and forth.
Okay. Rod, do you think they're going to take the belt off of Breaker again this early?
I do, actually, because I think I think Braun Breaker is going to live in a world where, like, he's going to kind of dominate the IC belt for a little while, right? There's a lineage of guys throughout the WWE who win the Intercontinental belt multiple times, right? They kind of they dominate it, they own it. There's just not enough room for them at the top, but we know that they're better than your Chad Gables, your American Maids, your, you know what I mean, some of your other guys down here at the bottom of the roster. So
Carrying crosses.
hey, whoa, we're not doing that. This is a pro carrying cross broadcast here with Jimmy and I. We've been repping carrying since day one. TikTok, all right. It was an hourglass, but we're not talking about that.
So then we have the women's War Games match between Rhea Ripley, Bianca Belair, Naomi, Io Sky, and Bayley versus Liv Morgan, Raquel Rodriguez, Nia Jax, Tiffany Stratton, and Candice LeRae. I mean,
Jimmy, Jimmy, I'm going to say
Yeah.
it right here before we do anything. How in the world is Candice LeRae in this match? Jimmy, what's Candice LeRae doing in this match? How did she get in this match? Why? What are we doing?
They have 12 people. They need, and this is 10. So they need to have one of them. Hopefully, Candice LeRae, back in the day, Chris and Rod, Candice LeRae was really the hardcore queen. I mean, she was able to do some really interesting things back in the Indies. So maybe they bring that out in here. Maybe gets her over a little bit, hopefully, because we need to get more women over. This is a good way to do it. It could possibly happen there. Maybe she and Bianca get into it. Maybe she and Rhea Ripley get into it. I think we're starting to see the Bianca Belair a heel turn. I'm assuming she's the one that threw Jade through the car. So I'm gonna. But
wait a minute. How did Bianca throw Jade through the car, Jimmy? She was in the ring. Like, I want nothing more than for Bianca to turn heel. I've talked about it even before you've ever mentioned it. But how she was in the ring?
I mean, we don't know how long she had been laying on the car, Rod.
Yeah. Or maybe she asked a couple people to help her out.
I thought it was Piper. I really did. I thought Chelsea Green put Piper up to it because she didn't want to see either one of them in the tournament.
That could be. I think that would be a little off course of where they're going storyline direction, but it could happen. You never know. I don't know everything, right? I'm going to go Rhea Ripley's team is going to win this one, Rod.
I'm going to go Rhea Ripley needs to take that stupid thing off her face when she's not wrestling. All right? Like, I get that she needs to have that thing on when she's in the ring, but, like, you don't need to be looking like the friggin' Crow when you're backstage just talking to Bianca and the girls about strategy for the War Game match. All right? Like, my God, dude. Take that thing off your face. It's stupid. That's how desperate the WWE is for women right now, that they're bringing Rhea Ripley back entirely too early and putting her in a friggin' Crow mask.
Yeah, that is tough because you don't want her to get hurt more. So I would think she's not going to take too much. At least it's just a War Games match. It should be fine, Chris, right?
Yeah.
So this is what I want to have. I don't know how exactly this could take place or go down or how this would work out, but please, for the love of God, let Tiffany Stratton turn in her case against Liv Morgan in this match somehow.
Okay.
Wild.
Anything can happen. You are right. That
I got Liv's team, by the way, Jimmy, because I never made a pick. I just yelled about Rhea's mask. I got Liv's team.
Angry about that. Okay, you got Liv's team. Who do you think is going to win there, Chris?
So, like, I don't know what happens. If this happens in the middle of the War Games match, you guys say that anything could happen with the WWE. What's to stop Tiffany from realizing, oh, Liv is passed out in the corner over here. I could go take her belt right now.
Because she's trapped in a cage with Liv's personal bodyguard, Raquel Rodriguez, when she does it. That's probably why it won't happen.
Well, if it's a 2-on-1 to start it, that'd be interesting, to see.
So then what? Tiffany Stratton's just going to leave the match? She's just going to leave the match after she wins the belt?
Yeah, see, that's the thing, Chris. It's never been done this way before, so anything can happen, like you said. So, yeah, does Tiffany win that match, but then they continue on with the War Games until it's over? It could be. It would have to be done. Maybe Raquel Rodriguez is in the cage still, and Tiffany pins Liv Morgan when it's 5-on-4 or 4-on-3 or whatever that could be. And then they still continue with the War Games. A lot of things could happen here, and no matter what it would be a cluster. But I'm all for cluster. I like anarchy. Chris, who you got winning this one?
Yeah, the Nia Jax, Liv Morgan team.
Okay. Yeah, I went with Rhea's team because I really think the New School Bloodline's going to win in the main event, and I don't know how this is going to end. I really don't. Does Paul Heyman turn on Roman Reigns here, and it's just another Survivor Series screw job? I kind of hate going back to that well all the time. It's been a couple years, I guess, but still, I think this is going to be a terrific matchup overall, but I do have the Solo Sikoa team winning here, Rod.
I got the new bloodline winning. All right. Roman was on his back here pretty recently. So I just don't see another scenario where Roman goes down here. I think Paul is going to turn on Roman and we're going to get Roman v. Phil at WrestleMania. But I don't think that's going to happen here quite yet. I also think that is going to happen because the towel up here behind me, we've made mention of it before, and I saw a wrestling account literally just tweet out this: filming on Peacemaker Season 2 has wrapped. That means John Cena's coming back. John Cena's fighting somebody. Maybe that somebody will ultimately be Cody Rhodes, leaving the main event at WrestleMania open for CM Punk, Roman Reigns, which even though our old man Chris yawns at everything about CM Punk, and even though I don't personally like CM Punk, he's big box office as far as anybody the WWE has left to go up against Roman Reigns, because we've seen him and Cody 2 times. We've seen him versus Jay. We've seen him versus the Bloodline. We don't have anything cooking about him versus The Rock. So that leaves CM Punk, Roman Reigns as your main event in WrestleMania, Las Vegas. The seeds will be planted, but Roman will walk out victorious at War Games.
Are you going to tell me there's going to be a main event at WrestleMania that doesn't involve a belt?
It could be the night one main event. I mean, that happened with Austin and Owens and stuff like that. So it could be the night one.
Yeah, but isn't that more of a special occasion because that was Austin coming back after so many years,
Yeah,
right?
but anything can happen.
And also, there's a long way to go before we get there, Chris. There could be a belt on somebody by the time we get there. There's a lot of different ways we could tell the story.
Yeah, we've got Raw going to USA. We got Saturday night's main event coming up. A lot of things going on. But Chris, who you got in the old school, new school?
I got to ask you a question first, Jim, because you are the resident expert, okay?
Sure.
Who is the WWE pushing harder moving forward? Do you think they're pushing Roman Reigns, or do you think they're pushing CM Punk?
Short term, I think it's Reigns. I think the answer is Reigns either way.
And I see Reigns pinning Solo, and then that turning into another one-on-one because they gotta finish that feud to see who the tribal chief is. You're gonna see Solo and Roman before you see Roman and Punk.
Solo and Roman at the Rumble, maybe.
No,
Maybe.
no one wants to see that. Jimmy,
No.
that's our last pick for the War Games, right?
Correct.
This is the holiday extravaganza. Let's spend a couple of minutes here at the end about two other things going on that don't have anything to do with War Games. All right.
Sure.
Let's talk about possibly, Jimmy, one of the greatest promo sequences ever between your guy and my guy, Cody Rhodes, Kevin Owens. Come on, Jimmy. These two guys cutting promos one another. I mean, the long-term payoffs of all the things that Cody Rhodes has done in his career and all the things that Kevin has done in his career, and the way that Chris likes to talk about how both guys can actually be right, and it's how you want to look through the prism. I mean, just chef's kiss to that promo segment those dudes cut on each other.
Of course, it's two of the best in the business. Kevin Owens better than Cody Rhodes. Cody Rhodes has done a lot better in recent years, and I like that. You said it right, Chris. We're both going to say it before you get a chance to repeat it, but if both people are right, that's the best.
I was so mad and happy at the same time, all right, because I was watching and Cody came out without the suit, right? And I almost texted you guys and been like, "Where's the suit? Where's the suit?" And KO, of course, beat us all to it and called him out right there on the spot. Oh, absolutely loved it. Give me more. It's the most interested I've been in a Cody storyline since he's been back.
Agreed.
It really has.
Agreed. I give Cody an awful lot of guff, and Jimmy basically would always say, "Rod, give it time. He hasn't been champ for a while. Let's let it talk into a storyline that might work." And this one's working. I'm all in. I'm way fired up for Saturday night's main event, which is when it's been announced that these two are finally going to go at it. There's talks that Jesse the Body Ventura may come back to call Saturday night's main event on NBC. I don't think that will probably ultimately happen, but it'll be cool to talk about it for a while leading up to it. And I'm excited about that. But Jimmy, I said I wanted to mention two things, and I got to talk about something else here that's that's almost like a Rod Damnation, what Rod's hot about this week. All right.
Mhm.
Rey Mysterio turned
Ah.
50 years old on November 24th. Okay. Our guy is 50 years old. Our guy is a WWE Hall of Famer, and he was wrestling in a tornado tag team match at 8:40 on Raw with Dragon Lee, Julius Creed, and Brutus Creed. What are we doing to our guy? What are we doing to our guy? Jimmy, we talk about it all the time that not everybody can be champion, but come on. This man is 50 years old. This man has bled and broke bones for the WWE for 2 decades. We got to figure out something better to do with Rey Mysterio now that he's 50 years old than having him wrestle in a tornado tag match with Dragon Lee and the Creed brothers at 8:40 on Raw, Jimmy.
They've never really treated him right ever since he came in the WWE. Even when he was WWE champion, that championship run was a joke because they had him go against the biggest guys and get thrown around. He actually lost a lot as champion. So I agree with you. There's got to be something we can do to heighten him up, even if it's just one-on-one matches to start the show, something like that. Get it over, get him some wins. It doesn't have to be for championships or anything like that, but do a little bit better, right, Chris?
So I think he's still the driving force behind the LWO, right? Like he still wants to
Whatever that is.
be,
Yeah.
and that's right. Like it's Rey Mysterio. That's what that is. And if he goes away, I think that goes away, right? I think you have a little bit more of an issue. You just have your Andrades and your other people just wander around solo. But so he's everything you guys said. All right. He is a Hall of Famer. He has done everything and given everything you can into this business, right? I think if he is still capable in the ring, which he is, he can still wrestle for as long as he wants, all right? Because we are going to get that mask versus hair match that we've been talking about for years. That's going to come, and that's probably going to be his retirement match, and that's going to be one of the greatest things that we will all witness.
That's true.
Yeah,
They still got a banger with him and Dom in their back pocket. That's for sure.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's they have to kind of wait till the Dom thing loses its steam, so then they can go to that to regain the steam there. One final thing before we go, we just added United States Championship match. Our boy LA Knight, against Shinsuke Nakamura for the WWE United States Championship at Survivor Series. Our boy LA Knight has kind of been a little stale on the course, kind of doing, it's got to be Nakamura. Nakamura's got to win. Let's breathe some rivalry or breathe some life back into this United States Championship. It gets Nakamura over. It has LA Knight chasing again. I like Nakamura in this, Chris King.
That is some blasphemous stuff that you're saying right there, Jimmy. What are you a fan of LA Knight? I mean, why are you not rooting and betting for your guy? All right, this is LA Knight. This is
sorry.
It's LA Knight. He's gonna win. All right, and he is either going to win outright or there's going to be some shenanigans where Shinsuke gets disqualified and then it becomes something else. This is just the start of something, though, right? And if LA Knight gets a win over a quality opponent like Shinsuke, I think that means more than beating Andrade again.
Raul, I'll get to you here in a second with this, but I am rooting for LA Knight. That's why he needs to lose this, because it's kind of just he's gone through so many people that something different has to happen for him to continue to
He's
win.
the one champ that is fighting every week. He's taking on all comers. What more do you want? He's fighting the people in front of him.
All right, Rod, who's right?
I'll tell you what more I want, Chris. I want him to go down to the Ninja Warrior badass Shinsuke Nakamura. All right. This Shinsuke is a believable villain, right? This Shinsuke can call out meta storylines, right? Like everything he said about LA Knight is absolutely true. We just talked about how the greatness between KO and Cody was that they were saying true stuff. What Shinsuke said to LA Knight's probably absolutely true. So yes, give me Shinsuke Nakamura as a badass, looking menacing, speaking Japanese back there backstage, coming out and Kinshasa and LA Knight in the face. And then we'll get LA Knight to change out of the stupid vest that he wears all the time and get a bit of a new look. And he'll come down to the ring and maybe be a champion again.
And always remember, you can stuff a duck if you want to. And with that, you've been listening to the Yeah We Know podcast, part of the More You Knows podcast network. In the ring, But Jimmy, Chris, and Rod.
Yeah, that's right, Chris. I said the LA Knights vest is stupid, all right? Because I can still be a fan of the man and say that the vest that he wears is ridiculous.
Goodbye, net. Yeah.
Also, I'm a Seth Rollins guy. All the clothes he wears are ridiculous.
Yeah, I was gonna say of everybody.